So I'll resume recording. All right. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law. So again, we're starting tonight's meeting of the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee on Monday, August the 29th at a little past 6. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access channel. The recording of this meeting will also be available on the Lunenburg Public Access YouTube channel within 24 hours. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Public participation is encouraged, and public comments may be welcomed during committee member discussions at the discretion of the chair. And with that, we're going to begin tonight with any public comments this evening from the public. All right, seeing none. Let's see, any public comments this evening from APDC? And I don't see Tony with us. Any public comments this evening from the committee? Excellent. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into review the draft position paper on storage needs and child-related services. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with you guys. So let me just go ahead and do that. Let's see. I can already see some little error message popping up from Zoom on this. So I'm going to try to share and let me know if you see this.
Michael, give me just 1 second. I'll make you host. We didn't redo that, or I think that you are host now.
Yeah, I'm host. I need to update some system preferences here on my side. Security and privacy to grant access. Whoops. I need to transfer hosts to someone. It's looking, Dave, I'm going to make you the full host. It's looking as though I need to exit and restart. So if you can just give me 1 moment to exit and restart, I'll come right back in and share the screen.
All right, I'll check the chat. Okay. Should I let him in, guys, or should I make him sit in the lobby for a while?
He always makes us wait. I'd let him sweat it out there for a
Yes,
minute or two.
exactly. All right, he's sitting there long enough. Okay. Oh, 2 people have entered the room. Tony's out there, so I'll let them both in.
For some reason, I'm the one who, see, it's listing me as co-host, and I don't understand that. I'm sorry.
So let me see if I can do something here. Hold on. Share.
I think it's my problem. I think it's me.
No, I can share a screen right now if I wanted to. So here, if I do that, hold on. If I do that, all right. If I share, everybody see the screen? Thumbs up, down, or in between?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know if it's you, Eric.
Well, I think what happened is my browser somehow it's got the S. Melandrino's login still, and it's making me co-host. And I shouldn't have co-host. Is he not in? Michael Ray not in here? I can't.
I'm here. David, can you make me host again?
All right. How do I do that again now?
Yeah, so if you click on participants.
Oh, I got you.
Yep. And Eric, I made you co-host while I left. So that's why you're co-host.
No, I know, but before that I was logging in and it was making me host over the town of Lunenburg person. I may have to log out.
Okay.
So if I do have to log out, I'm happy to do that. I just want to make sure it's still running.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen here so that way we can get started. Good to see you, Tony.
Good to see you too, Michael.
And let me know if you can see this screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
And is it large enough for you?
Sure, if you got the text thing on the side, but whatever.
Okay,
Can you get rid of the right side?
sure.
There you go. Okay.
All right. So this is the position paper. I'll go ahead and read it. And this is referring to long-term storage. This also referred to child space needs. And I figured we can add that in here while we're talking. So I'll read it and then we can all read this together. So as the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee continues its work to identify future usage of the TC Pass Hills building and other municipal buildings, the committee has taken the following position as it relates to town and school storage. Please be sure to reply no later than September the 30th. One, any remodel of a remodel of any town building or the construction of a new building will require space for storage. The weight of paper requires a build design with a higher capacity per square foot than typical public uses. And again, that was the difference of about 300 pounds per square foot versus roughly 80 to 100 pounds per square foot. Number two, current remodel build estimates are between $275 and $350 per square foot. Three, operational file storage includes those files needed for the day-to-day operations of any given person or department, and includes those files that must be readily available for reference or distribution, and typically includes files created within 24 months. Long-term storage are those files and documents required by statute or regulation to be kept for a specific duration of time in excess of 2 years, and all other files that are more than 2 years old. 5, the cost of digitization and offsite storage is far lower than the cost of reconstructing, remodeling, and or maintaining space for long-term record storage. 6, the Lunenburg Municipal Building Design Committee will minimize long-term storage space in all permutations of plans. All town and school departments and personnel are encouraged to digitize records that are required to be kept for long-term storage. And 7, if public records cannot be digitized or kept off-site by a service such as Iron Mountain, please identify the square footage of long-term storage needs and the rationale for why off-site storage or digitization is prohibited no later than September the 30th, 2022. So what are our comments, feedback, and adjustments to this? And you guys can just go ahead and talk freely, since I have to hold a different screen to see everyone here. So just feel free to jump in. Do we think this accurately captures the intent of what we were trying to relay with the long-term and public storage?
I think you captured it, Michael. It's just so the plan would be I'm not sure if I understand if the plan would be that there would be some type of off-site storage, or have we gotten word from the state that we don't have to keep hard copies of things dating back to 1912?
Yeah, so what we at a previous meeting, Dave, what we had discussed, and this is a reference to that previous meeting, is that the town is undergoing a digitization process itself for its long-term storage records. And the encouragement here as well is for the schools to do the same. That when we look at our storage plans and we look at the plans that we had for a remodel or even a new building, we were looking at a lot of thousands of square footage for long-term storage. And so what this is encouraging is to utilize services such as Iron Mountain, which still meets the need of long-term storage. It just does it off-site, as many other agencies and municipalities do. And then it's also saying digitize where feasible.
Okay. Perfect. That's fine. Yep, I got you. Ben. Okay.
Greg, yep, just jump in.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I was raising my hand while I was unmuting myself. So Iron Mountain is a place where, or a service that takes that archives physical paper documents? Or
Yes.
Iron Mountain? Okay.
Yep.
So,
So
the-
services like Iron Mountain is commonly used by municipalities. It's used by the state, by the Commonwealth. And what they do is a lot of the records that they have to store for 100 years or 50 years or even 20 years, 10 years, they get sent off to Iron Mountain and they're kept in there. And then, you know, we're the ones, whoever's storing the items in Iron Mountain are the ones who then need to follow up if those records need to get destroyed or returned.
Interesting. So is it a situation where we digitize them first, so we have digital copies of them that are more accessible, but we still have the paper copy to comply with statute? Is that what we?
Yeah, it's really, I think that we can't, as our committee, we can't direct that, but the answer is both. It's either or and. If
basically,
that makes sense.
What we're trying to communicate, I think, in this document, if I'm reading you right, is we think that we need to minimize the amount of space at all costs, minimize the amount of space we dedicate to storage in a new building, because it's going to cost us, you know, $300 a square foot.
Correct.
And we could do it for a lot cheaper offsite.
Yeah, as I highlighted number six really is the point.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So basically the idea is to have all departments report back by the end of September on what it is, you know, what it is they need. And that's what we would program in.
Yes.
Are we asking the departments to not just what they do now? So they say, well, we keep all the paper because that's what we've done. But are we asking them to look in to see if it's possible to digitize in the future? Is that part of the ask?
That's correct. Yeah, and if I need to be more clear in that, then I advise you where. But yes, number 7 is the ask, that if public records cannot be digitized or kept off-site by a service such as Iron Mountain, then we're asking for them to identify the square footage of long-term storage needs.
So,
And the rationale,
yeah.
And the rationale for why off-site storage and digitization cannot occur.
Right.
I think in this go around, our intent, as I recall, is to push a little bit more on some of these requirements. So that way, I think we can evaluate ourselves separately. Given that the last time, I think we took a lot of things at word, and I think this time we're trying to be a little more discriminatory, and not in the negative use of that word, but in the positive use, a little more discriminatory in terms of evaluating those things.
Yeah, honestly, last time I think we had the exact opposite relative to storage. I almost think, you know, we can always use more storage.
Right.
That was almost the spirit of it. You know, so I think this is good. I mean, you know, it's true, but it's a lot of money.
So perhaps there needs to be a phrase or something in here that says that we are encouraging that all records be digitized. Where instead of right now, we're saying, like you're saying, if public records cannot be digitized, somewhere, you know, maybe a bullet ahead of that saying, you know, we're encouraging that all records be digitized.
Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Okay.
Michael Ray, I wonder if that number 7, if you finish it with the prohibited, the last sentence there, long-term storage needs and the rationale for why offsite storage or digitation is prohibited. And then, you know, period. And then maybe like the last line, please respond to the committee no later than September 30th. Like have it, I feel like you want to, you have it at the top, I think, but also maybe it's not a in 7 so much as like a, here's the last line, let's say, okay, make sure you respond to the committee.
you want to say prohibited or not feasible or just prohibited?
I think the word choice I was going with was really kind of pushing a little bit more and
Okay.
saying, why can't you? What's the reason why you can't do this? I mean, I
Yeah.
understand that we may not have the resources at this time to be able to just overnight do this. But the reality is that we need to find those resources so that way we can get that done within the next year or two. So I was trying to be a little strong in the word choice here, but
Yep.
Brian, how would you word this last section number 7?
So I'm okay with even what Greg said too. I think there's another line after 7 where it's not a bullet. It's just continuing what you had stated at the beginning. Please make sure you respond to the committee no later than September 30th.
So just prohibited, period.
Yeah, and then start a whole new line, but without a number.
All
Please
right.
respond to the committee or your email no later than September 30th. I think that should be a separate thing, not just at the end of number 7.
What's my email address for the town side? I don't even know.
What is it, at Lunenburg Gov?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's MR or just MJ.
Oh,
MJ and M Jeffries
MJ. All right.
at whatever the new domain is. I can't.
yeah, LunenburgMA.gov. I think it is.
Yeah, I haven't been converted yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say it
Oh.
still says LunenburgOnline.com for you.
Yep. I haven't been converted. Neither have most people. I think schools have and all employees have, or town employees. All right.
There's.
So yes,
sorry.
Christine.
There was one other thing that I might change or add, or where it says in point 7, by a service such as Iron Mountain. I don't know if that might be off-putting to people, or do we want to take it upon us or take it, like, kind of put it on the town to say, you know, you don't want to send it to Iron Mountain, but we're not putting it in the town hall. I believe it was Peter that said in the last few meetings he was at that there's like potentially storage at the police station. I mean, I know we don't want to really keep kicking stuff around the town and taking up space, but I just don't want that to be a deterrent. I think it's, if there was a way to include that saying, or just,
Yeah, I think I understand that Peter had offered that up, but the issue, Christina, that I would counter that with is that the public safety building does have a second floor that's largely unfinished. The police and fire department would like that space to be finished, and in large part, it's because we are in the process of a strategic plan to add more police and fire men, and it calls for an addition of 5 new firemen and 10 new police officers. I believe we're in year number, I'm not sure the year number, but I believe we're in year number 6 or 7. So we've already added 11 new full-time personnel, and so that space is being targeted for their use, not for storage.
but is there like I don't know, I'm just throwing out like this, like if we decide that town hall isn't going to be a town hall, you know what I mean? Like just a different place in town without saying it's going to be part of the new town hall. That way it's not like in a faraway place where people feel like, well, if we send it there, we'll never get it, because if they don't understand how. I just see that as being a potential deterrent to some people. So that was just my point.
Yeah, on the town side, I think that we're already in the process of doing this, and I don't see an issue with compliance on the town side. I think we have a request from the schools for 3,000 square feet for long-term storage. And so that's, I think, really the target here is that 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
That's
But
what
if
it
you
was. That's what it was in the plan we prepared, 3,000 square feet
it was approximately that.
for
Yeah.
schools. That's $1 million. It's crazy.
So I'd say we tell them to store it at the Brooks house, and whoever buys the Brooks house takes the paper with them, you know?
Or they buy a big shredder and shred it all.
Right.
So I think, Christina, your input here is to add in language that says at another location or by a service such as, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes, modifications to this that we see? Are we all in agreement with this wording? And again, I can't see all of you at the same time. Matt, Tony,
You know, I was looking online to see if anybody else had physical storage besides Iron Mountain that was local. And there's a ton of companies that will store digital files, but there is not a ton of companies that will store paper. Iron Mountain is one of them. And the other one of the other companies that's involved in storing digital files is Carbonite, and that's actually headquartered in Boston. But I didn't see anything in a real quick review that they store physical files as well.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, what you've described is what people need to plan for, and that is digitize as much as you can, because then the options for storage and retrieval are really broad. I mean, there's lots of companies that can offer that service. It's just that if we got to keep a piece of paper someplace, you know, off site, then we're maybe a little more limited. But I think that this is the way to go. You know, you gotta, you know, get people out of their comfort zone of always thinking that they can walk down the hall or walk around the corner and open up a file cabinet when you know that they really don't do that. You know, so much of the stuff that people keep is stuff that they don't really get to very often, or need to get to very often. So I think you've captured this quite nicely.
Thank you, Tony. Matt?
Yeah, I agree with Christina, but my recommendation would have been to remove the parents. Just leave it as digitized or stored off-site. Because in my mind, we've got a storage facility that we permitted a few years ago on Electric Avenue that we could encourage. We can invest town money into a local business and provide a town needed service.
Yep. I can delete that. One thing to respond to you, Tony, as well, is that so the state has multiple contracts, and one of the state contract lists includes moving storage and record storage. So there are because I was recently looking this up there's about 7 companies in the Commonwealth that will provide long-term record storage.
That's good.
Yeah.
More competition.
Yeah.
And I also agree with Matt. It's like digitized or stored off-site, and then you can figure out how you're going to do that after you figure out what you have.
Okay.
My only thing would be is that we want the departments, you know, to do that, not to say, well, I really like paper, so, you know, everything's going to have to be kept off-site when digitizing is perfectly fine. It is a huge cost to the town to keep paper, and it's probably in the long run a huge cost to the town and employees in retrieval. It's just so much easier to hit a button or two and all of a sudden the form that you want is there, rather than someone going down the hall, going through 5 boxes and pulling it out and grabbing it, making a photocopy, and then, you know, and then giving it to a person when you could just, it's just way more work. So this is a huge digitizing as much as we can is not only a space saver, but a better level of service for the townspeople, and probably a better work experience for the employees. So
right.
we got to make sure we and I think it does, but I think we got to make sure that the departments know that this is, you know, it's not, you like paper, so you're going to try to keep as much paper as possible. It's not an option.
Yeah. So the intent after we approve this is I will email this out to you as a PDF, and if we can go back to our appointing boards and be sure to share this so that primarily school committee, finance, and select board, planning board, and just share this, and then that way any feedback from our appointing boards, that's really the purpose of these position papers. It's also for Brian to share on social media. So that way the public's aware of the positions that the committee's taking. Is there a motion if there are no other changes? Is there a motion?
Michael, I'm sorry, Michael, I've got some more to say about this.
Yep, let's go, Matt.
So please be sure to reply no later than September 30th is in the first paragraph, and it's also at the very bottom.
Yes.
So
should we remove one of them?
If we want it that way, that's fine with me. I just wanted to mention that. Also, I think that 1 through 5 could be because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 6 without a number, and then a request, the MB. I don't know if you intended to leave it bold, but I think that we should itemize these first 5 things is because of these items. This is why we've come to this decision as a group, and we have this request to make of you folks.
I wrote this like a whereas. whereas, now therefore.
Exactly, but I guess I was asking you to make it that way.
All right. Are we all in agreement to change to add whereas?
But actually, not necessarily technically that way. Whatever.
That's how I wrote it. So do we want to kind of do we want me to rephrase it that way?
You could just put in front, like on top of 1, you could just say, the line above it, you could say.
Whereas, yeah,
Whereas, or findings, committee findings, or committee or facts or something, I don't know. Committee findings. And then there you can say committee conclusions, or committee action item, or committee, I don't know.
I know.
decision.
Or committee decision, yeah. Committee. Or the words are escaping me here. I'm not using this committee yeah, decision, or decisions and conclusions, or
Decisions, conclusions.
I think
directives.
we're wordsmithing. I think you got it. Committee decisions. I think
fine.
that's fine.
Yeah,
Now, let me see how I can get all this on one page.
Go to a smaller font.
You know,
That always
yeah,
works.
you can remove a line,
yeah, let me see which one it is.
increase the remove a
Well, to
line.
take, if you want to take out the thing where you're saying the September 30th on top, just leave it,
Yeah.
take out the please be sure to reply no later than September 30th, and just leave it on the bottom.
There you go, you got it.
I got it. Do we want to take, I was kind of leaving it in there thinking
I
that.
think it's
might
good to say,
come
I think it's
up.
good to say it twice.
If you can fit it, leave it in. If you can't, that's the one line you can move. And
All right,
You got it.
yep, we got it.
Shrink the margins, you got it.
We all know that we all wrote plenty of papers. We know the tricks. All right. Any other discussion on this? Okay, is there a motion to approve this position paper as edited?
Greg Roy will make a motion to approve as edited and discussed this evening.
Is
Andre
there,
will second it.
okay, since we're on Zoom, we're gonna do a roll call vote here. Brian,
Yes.
Christina? I saw you say yes, so we didn't hear it.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, let's see, Tony,
Yes.
David,
yes,
Greg,
Greg, yes.
and or yes for me as well. All right, I will distribute this.
What about me?
after-
Yeah, you
Who did
got
I
it.
miss?
What about
Who
me?
did I miss? Matt.
Yes, please.
All right, now that we have all members in agreement.
I
I'm
know,
gonna
Matt, you did all that work with editing and then he forgets about you, huh? It's like, gosh.
Yeah, I was going through the list by face. I obviously skipped you now. All right, let me stop screen sharing and I'm going to move to the next thing that I will be sharing. So thank you for that. And we'll go ahead and share that out. I'm going to jump down to what we have listed as number 4 on our agenda, discuss member provided ideal scenarios. So I'm just going to populate these things. I'm a little sweaty. I think I don't have AC. It's really hot in my house today. So I'm not sure if you guys are equally hot where you are. I see Matt over here. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to share is we all sent forward some King for a Day proposals, and I compiled them into a one building use document. And I will apologize up front that Dave, I missed yours. I just couldn't find it. And I know that you and I talked about it, but I just
No
couldn't
problem.
locate it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and
I won't-
share.
I won't take it
That's-
personal.
Let's see. Okay, and can we all see this okay? It's a large document and there we go. Can we all see this okay? Perfect. All right. So we all discussed again our kind of king for a day scenarios, and we can all take a moment and just kind of review what's in front of us, and then I'm going to point out some commonalities here. So below this as well, we have what we're calling idea 1, idea 2, and idea 3. So the task in front of us right now is, we've all been working on this for quite some time. We've gone through the TAPE Vertex reports. We identified what needs to happen in buildings. We came to the conclusion that what remains really should be part of a build out process. And so those items will be noted for any future build out. So we brainstormed previously, we talked about our ideas. We did the king for a day scenario. And so now the task at hand is to kind of sync all these and come up with 3 ideas that we then will start working off of to be able to whittle down even more. So as we're looking at this, TC Passios, we had a range of ideas: Town Hall, Ritter Building, Brooks, and then new build or other. And I know, Tom, that you haven't, I know I'm talking while I'm filling some space here while everyone has a chance to read. So I'm going to start with idea number 1. The common thing that I found was using the Ritter Building as a school administration. And so if we talk about building out kind of, again, options A, B, and C based on all the information that we currently know, let's work and do that. So I'm plugging in school administration into idea number 1, just because that's a commonality that was in many other areas. So let's talk through this. And again, anyone who wants to jump in here, just feel free to jump in to kind of walk through what you think ideal scenarios should be, looking at what we're looking at.
Jump in. I know the superintendent had spoke about the Ritter Building and it might need some work, but I think it was doable. I also think that it needs to be used. The town wants the Ritter Building used, so we want to put somebody in there. And I think the consensus was really town offices is number 1. I also think it's a selling point too, is if we get somebody in there like the school administration, maybe there's potential that school administration goes back with the town offices, but I don't think that has to be a priority, that get a spot for school administration and it fills the building too.
Okay. Whose idea here do we want to borrow and take as idea number 1?
Well, I think you got a common theme of community space, public meeting space, community space for town hall. Nobody's looking at it as office, nobody's looking at it as town, any kind of town related function.
Okay. So then in this, again, this permutation will say that what are we doing with TC Passios? Are we going to be using that as demolishing for future site of Turkey Hill? Are we looking to keep the gym central areas?
Well, it looks like we want to demolish either all or part of it. That's what most of
It's
them
at
are
least
saying.
part of it. And I think because you're looking at also the school administration, if they're leaving, potentially the extended day programs and the early programs, if those are leaving because they're going to be expensive spaces, if they're going back to the schools, then I think you're looking at demolishing some of it at least, if not the whole thing. And I think that's where you get that idea 1 and 2. It's like one of them is potentially demo a wing, one's maybe demo the whole building potentially.
Okay.
So the only issue I have with this is, the tough part we have is we're making we don't have an assumption on Turkey Hill after all this.
Correct.
And that's the toughest part, because, right, obviously, that might change what happens, like the Ritter Building, school administration. Is that what we do with the Ritter Building if I'm vacating Turkey Hill?
Yeah, I think we have a decent idea about Turkey Hill. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think we've heard from the school committee that they're leaning, in the superintendent, that they're leaning towards a new building, but that it could fit potentially in the area next to Turkey Hill, or it's potentially on the TCP land. But I don't think there was a preference on the land or the location, but there definitely are possibilities.
Where would they build that, Brian? Would they build that on the field, in the, like the lower field below the?
Yeah, that practice football field was an option.
One thing, Brian, that Matt noted in a previous meeting, and I'm really kind of like all over the place with Turkey Hill. I can see Turkey Hill as a future town hall. I can see it being demolished. I can see it being added to. The most cost-effective measure is to add to the building. Is the school committee at all exploring? Because my understanding is that when the building was built, it was designed to be able to add to.
So we can invite the superintendent back again, but from what I remember from the superintendent was that it wasn't going to be able to be updated in a summer, like whether it was the ventilation or just the different projects that needed to be done. It wasn't going to be able to be a summer project. So then it's moving classrooms. Maybe it's using the TCP, maybe it's using different areas, but there would definitely have to be a movement of the current students that are in Turkey Hill.
It's still far cheaper to rent some property we currently don't rent, put up a bunch of trailers there and have a temporary school there for a year and remodel the building than it is to tear one down and build a new one. So, you know, I would push against that the measure being, if it can't be done in the summer, then we must build new. I don't follow that logic too well. Christina?
So I was just gonna say something that I think Tony mentioned, it was last week or the week before, where in the back of our heads, yeah, Turkey Hill or whatever school it is could be used as town hall, but if we start mixing the two, then why even have this anymore? It should just be the school committee and what they decide for the town buildings, because we're now taking the focus away from the town hall and saying, well, like, unless the school committee comes out today and the town votes today, like, hey, they're getting a new school, that really shouldn't even be an option until it becomes an option, because we're now pushing this further and further down the road, hoping that the school committee acts faster than we do. So I feel like it puts our committee in a very bad light by doing that. I think we need to focus on what we have currently and what we want to do currently. Otherwise, we might as well just stop this committee until the school decides what this committee is going to do.
All right. I see Matt is in agreement with you, and I know I am in partial agreement with you as well.
I'm pretty much there too. So I said it in kind of a different way when I presented my scenario, but that's more or less why I kept my option for TCP was to keep the school, just use it for current school programs, like the after school programs and the ACE program and those things. And then in that respect, we just let the schools do whatever they're going to do with Turkey Hill. If they think that Turkey Hill's a good, that the rebuild of Turkey Hill should be in a demolition of TCP, you know, then they can figure out what to do with all those school programs that's under their purview anyway, while they're building it. Or they can figure out what to do with the school programs that exist in Turkey Hill while they're renovating it, or they can figure out that maybe the best solution is to build a new school. I don't know, but my whole thinking was, with the exception of the school administration, that we just let those buildings be schools, you know, be more or less school uses for now, and that in the future they can. In my view, it makes the most sense to demolish TCP and build a new school there. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's going to be better when they get to the point of going to MSBA for a project and they study it, and Lord knows we'll study it a lot before we actually start spending money. Maybe it'll be better to renovate. I don't know, but you know, I see it that way. Just kind of trying to separate these a little.
All right.
I absolutely think you need to separate it. The other thing is, if you're talking about moving the kids who are currently at Turkey Hill to the site where TC Passios is, now we're telling the voters that we're going to demolish 2 buildings, not just demolish 1 building. And then at the same time, we're going to be looking at creating new space where we've demolished buildings. And, you know, the other issue is that when you look at the current location of TC Passios and the Lunenburg middle school and high school, there's a lot of traffic in that area where TC Passios is. And you throw in Turkey Hill traffic, and I think you'll have a problem. But the real issue is now you're going to tell the voters, we're going to tear down 2 buildings and build a new building, and then we're going to go find money to build new buildings for town administrative functions. I don't think that's gonna fly with the voters. But I think fundamentally, going back to the position that I was trying to make before, is Turkey Hill is an issue that is separate from the Lunenburg Municipal Design, Lunenburg Building Design Committee. I think we're better off if we figure out how do we deal with the town administrative functions without trying to complicate it by looking at Turkey Hill.
All right.
So Tony, to that point, that's why if you look at the TAP A report we had, there was a simple one of building an annex on the Ritter building and moving all town functions into the Ritter building, which is, you know, kind of, if you look at it, that's to me the simplest scenario. And then the rest of this falls how it falls. The rest of it is the school, in a way.
Yes, I don't disagree with that, David. I think you could do that. I also think you could keep the Ritter and Town Hall for town administrative functions at a reasonable expense. You know, whether you save both buildings, you know, for town administrative functions, Ritter and Town Hall, or you put all of the town functions at Ritter, you know, I think that's a plan that you could move forward and probably sell voters. But I'm here to tell you, tearing down 2 buildings and building a brand new school building in a place where it's going to be a tight fit, I don't know if that's going to fly. And I think it's, once again, it's an issue, I think, for the school committee to deal with later.
Yeah.
Brian, is the
So
school
we-
committee saying, are there thoughts that Turkey Hill is either going to be renovated or expanded or moved to that ground behind it where the practice field is? They haven't been talking about moving it over to where tear down TCP. Is that right?
So again, the discussion is whether at a certain point in time, we have to decide on, say, the roof, and there's some big projects coming down the line. So
Right.
it's either that we repair the building, renovate the building, or it's building new. And then there's potential, you know, whatever the town has for space, whether it's next to Turkey Hill, there's some feasibility that it could go next to current Turkey Hill. And then there's obviously discussion in town that people want the new school potentially at the TCP lot. So I think there's still up in the air, but
I'm gonna jump in here real quick. So I want us to just get back to idea number 1, 2, and 3 for a little bit. So we can certainly talk this through, but I want to commit us to 3 concepts, and we can talk. Like I said, the idea here is to come up with 3 ideas that none of these are going to be perfect. We're not going to agree with all 3 of these, but 3 ideas to be able to say this is our best guess for how we can move forward. And this is, again, there's more work to do with this. So it looks like if number 1 is that we're demolishing the north wing of TC Passios and we're updating the kitchen, and this is going to be the future site of a new town hall. So we'll say future town hall. Then what do we do with the other buildings? And then I will note that idea number 2 is going to obviously have some demolition here, but we're using that building strictly for school purposes. And so what do we do with that concept? So Christina, I know you have your hand up, so you don't have to raise your hand. You can just speak freely, but feel free to go ahead. But if we can just pick up number 1, walk number 1 through, and then we can go to number 2. And I will increase the font here a little bit as well.
I was just gonna ask on number one, you have demolished twice. So until you put the future town hall, I was a little confused because I was saying, are we updating the kitchen or are we demolishing it? So that was for just my point on number one. But the other question I had, and it goes back to the building needs. For the school to go into Ritter, they said there would have to be construction, right? To make it usable for school.
Correct.
But kind of like what Dave was saying, and I know this was my big thing for the Ritter building. And I looked at the numbers over and over again. If we cut that storage down, the town hall could fit in Ritter. So is the town against being all together in Ritter? Is that why that's not really being talked about too much? Or is it just that, I don't know. That was just my question.
Yeah, I think Christina, the issue is that Ritter building is already full. Well, not fully full. So it's already municipal offices on the second floor. We have municipal offices on that floor you walk into. And the underutilized area, I don't really want to call it underutilized, but the other area is the basement area type of the building. And there's one free room in that basement space. And then there's a meeting room, and then there's some storage in there. So I think that looking at that basement area, it doesn't follow that town hall can fit in that area. That what's in town hall can fit into that space, that Ritter's not big enough. And so that's why I think in order to use it, there would have to be an addition to the building.
So the annex that David was talking
Yep.
about, but would that interfere with the 30 School Street construction? I don't know where the plan of the annex was when they discussed it, or.
Yeah,
So-
so right now we don't have an approved plan for 30 School Street, so that's also up on the table. So maybe that's the solution for number two. That's where we put that.
You tell
So-
us that we weren't supposed to talk about the old primary at the beginning, a couple weeks ago, or a few meetings ago.
Well, I'm not
Say
really
that again?
talking,
I thought we weren't
I'm
supposed
sorry,
to
Matt.
talk about the old primary because we already had a town meeting to demolish it, and we weren't supposed to talk about it.
No, we can talk about 30 School Street, Matt.
All right, well, also, now that I've got the floor, am I the only one that's not impressed with the summation of my 2 pages of King for a day?
Yeah. Matt,
Not throw it in your face, Michael, but I mean, Michael, Ray, but I just, anyways.
I know I was trying to be as succinct here and as possible, but you did have a lot more information in your scenario than just this, as did some others. Brian presented 2 different concepts as well in his plan. So
At least they got a position on the chart, Michael, right?
Exactly.
do we need to add in more? We can certainly add in more columns, but if we can keep going here with idea number 1. So TC Passios demolishing the north wing. So let's just envision that again, we're going to do this 3 times here. So time number 1, we're demolishing the north wing of TC Passios. We're utilizing the central part of the central wing and the front wing, which has the gym, the cafeteria, and that now is the new town hall. All right, this is scenario number 1.
Yeah, I think just get rid of demolish, update kitchen. I think you just have update kitchen, future town hall, or even just put future town hall.
Thank you. So we'll call this, thank you. Yep.
I think you can keep the first demolish north wing. I think that's fine, but the next you have another demolish, a second demolish that you can get rid of.
Well, there was timing on, no mention here of the bond bill. Can we still apply for that $1 million?
Within the bond bill. So the feedback that we got from our state legislatures is that, and this has to do with the politics of the Commonwealth, is that they are far too junior. Lunenburg is way too small. We're never going to see money from the bond bill. And that was
$3 billion that they're supposed to give back to the taxpayers.
yeah. So that was the feedback that we received from our state delegation a couple months ago, that we should never plan to see any of that money. And I think that based on process, politics of Massachusetts, typically the more senior people are able to get more money for their communities. And we have a freshman representative 2 freshman representatives and a freshman senator. So all 3 members of our delegation are brand new, and we're about to have a new seat that also becomes brand new, with Cena moving. So we have a new seat as well. So we're going to have another freshman going into this new year. I know it's not the answer I like to hear, but it's what I'm being told. Yes, Brian.
Get us back on track too. I wonder too if PAC would go in the future town hall as well. I think that was kind of a consensus that a lot of people wanted PAC with town offices in that idea 1.
Funded by Unitil or Verizon, right? Don't they get,
Correct. We'd have to give them space, but yeah.
so we
that's-
have, we
It's funded by them.
So, I don't know.
They
That's
indicated
going on.
that they can build out their space, but that they can't build a space. So there's a question there that we have for them to identify, I guess, cost contribution.
I thought the other thing was them too. Wasn't there some discussion about them going off and becoming not a nonprofit? I forget what it was called. We
Yeah.
were talking about them and like Fitchburg and what Fitchburg has and how they built a studio and they got funding from different
Yeah.
sources because they came I
Yep.
don't know what it's
So maybe
called.
maybe in idea number 3, we say no to no PAC space, but if we can, in idea number 1, we can put that in here, Christina, but your memory is correct.
Have we asked, I don't know if it has to be something formal from the committee because they're always listening, but do we ask them to go down that avenue and see what it's like for them to split off and do that? Because it might influence some of the voters on a decision later if they're given the 3 options.
Yeah, I think that the intent here is not to give the voters the 3 options. I think the intent here is for us to work through, to come up to today to identify or start to identify what 3 options look like. And then we report back to the select board on this once we have it. And then the select board gives us some feedback. But ultimately, the select board will motion which options go before the town. So part of this exercise is to come up with convincing arguments for what we think are varieties that could work. So in option number 1 here, and again, we don't have to love these options, but in option number 1, we're saying TC Pasio's future town hall, demolish north wing, update the kitchen, we're keeping in PAC. So we're basically utilizing the plan that we previous TC Pasio's design committee came up with minus school services. Is that a fair understanding of where we're at with TC Pasio's? I'm looking at Greg and Dave and Brian on this.
Like idea 1's coming along. I think we're
All right.
pretty good there.
So then town hall becomes a community building or meeting space building. Ritter building then is school administration. What do we do with Brooks?
Fire, town bonfire?
Yeah, in my opinion, that thing needs to go.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know why we're keeping it.
Storage.
Insurance.
Nobody wants it. No,
It's just, no one wants it. We've tried to sell it. No one's gonna move it. It's
Cheap storage.
Can I ask the question? When did we try to sell Brooks House and what were the terms and conditions?
So my recollection of this, Tony, and if anyone wants, Matt Allison, do you want to jump in here before I go? With my
No, you take it away.
my memory of this, Tony, is that it was like a $1 building and they just had to relocate it.
But they weren't going to consider an option to leave it there and figure out a way to make it a residential unit again?
No, no, we never, at no point in time do we ever consider that. Part of the challenge that we had, Tony, in the past is, and going back to 2016, 15, 17 time period, there were several town meetings where there were multiple articles put before the town. And what those articles would have done essentially is give the select board the ability to negotiate the sale of some property. The town overwhelmingly voted that down. And so, we've looked into leasing or selling 30 School Street, old primary school. Town wants to own that property, they want to own the building, not an option. We've considered that for the old Brooks House. The town's willing to sell the building. They're not willing to give up the land. And this, we never considered selling Town Hall or Ritter. But we did look to give the select board more authority to be able to negotiate with property owners or potential developers or other uses. And those ideas were shot down. So it's kind of the history of why we're in this position, is that the town wants to own all this property, or at least we haven't given the town meeting a convincing argument to unload any of this property. And so we are in this kind of, I wouldn't call it a conundrum, but we're in this situation where the town meeting voters have consistently stated that they want possession of this property, and they want the property to be used for municipal purposes. So that's why we've been in this situation for several years. I think if we look at the best uses of every property, the best uses are probably not municipal.
So what's the best use when you tear the house down?
Of the property, of being a
Yeah.
nice pollinator garden, it
Or
just.
or a parking lot, yeah.
Or
Or more
parking.
space, yeah.
Well, and are they going
Parking
to
lot for
allow
who?
us to demo the building as well? Is
No.
that gonna be
Parking
allowed
lot
to
for who?
The library, the schools, the sports events, things like that.
Yep.
It was clear to me at the town meetings that we had that the people wanted the land. They didn't want to sell the land. They thought that was the birthright of the town, that campus area, and selling the building with the land was just not an option. The other part is, from my recollection of some of the capital items that are coming up on Brookhouse, it's substantial. The work that's going to need to be done, foundations and things, $200,000, and it's a house, and it's not. I mean, it's not going to give you a lot of good quality space to do things. So, and the cost to maintain it is probably going to be very high. So, at least my opinion is the best use of that area is to tear it down, look at, make parking lots or something, and then it's going to save you the maintenance and upkeep and all that for that building.
Well, the problem that I have representing the point of view that I'm supposed to represent is that's a very historic piece of property. And, we have a bylaw that the voters also embraced and passed back in 2015 or 2016. It said that they want to maintain the historic character of the town of Lunenburg. And I got to tell you, a parking lot is not maintaining the historic character of the town of Lunenburg. So that's all I'll say.
But how is that house
I
historic?
don't know how historic it is. It's
If I can orient us back, so we will have ideas number 2 and 3, where we can definitely make sure that we're not demolishing the Brooks house. So I'm sorry, Christina.
You can refine these things.
No,
still.
it's it blows my mind because we get stuck with all these old properties, and
That's the problem, yeah.
even I'm terrified for them to say, you know what, and I hate to bring this up because I don't want to go back down there. Let's not use the Turkey Hill. Let's build a new one and let's put it on this field. There's going to be people there guarding the building saying, you can't knock this building down. We need it. And this is how we've ended up with TC Passios, Town Hall, Ritter, and Brooks House. And people are saying, don't tear them down. We need them. Yes, we need community space, but we have to stop dumping community money into junk. The Brooks House is junk. The old primary was a hazard. The fact it stood so long blows my mind. TCP, Town Hall, and Ritter are all headed to junk because we keep putting our money into junk. We need to take a stance finally and say, yes, Ritter has historic, and it's historic because it was the library, and it was this, and it was that, and Town Hall's historic because it was the Town Hall. TC Passios was a school. It is not a historic building. So, and I think Brian said it, we're getting very close to where it's going to be deemed historic. So we have to start making moves to decide, do we want it to fall into the historic hands again? Or do we want as a town to say, we can do something with it. We can make it a community building. We can make it town offices. We can do something great with it and make it what it's worth. There's tons of historic buildings, and I don't have anything against historic. Not everything has to be brand new. That's why I'm saying, for me, the Ritter building could be Town Hall. I just think people keep spinning their wheels, and we're dumping hundreds of thousands. I mean, look at Town Hall, all the work that's done that has very little payoff.
Yeah. Because
It's
most
just-
of it's been
Christina,
external.
that's because it hasn't been done, I'd say, appropriately. But, you know, once again, I'm gonna go back and say, this town made a commitment to create a historic district. I would say that if this committee comes up with recommendations that say tear down this building, turn that building over for some function that's not gonna be supported by the town, then what the town needs to do is the town needs to vote to repeal the historic bylaw. And, you know, I don't have a problem with that. I was actually surprised that that the bylaw came about in such a modern time. But then you then have to live with the consequences of not having a historic district. And, you know, and I understand that there's concern about the condition of the buildings. But those buildings, based on my experience as an engineer who dealt with historic preservation, have higher value than what anybody wants to give them credit for as structures. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to bring to the table here, is that I have experience in fixing up old historic buildings. What you can't do is neglect old historic buildings, because then they do fall down.
So I want to ask, as we go into look at idea number 2, and we can start with let's start with the Brooks House then. If we want to keep it, what do we use the Brooks House for?
Storage.
I'd use it as a house.
Space.
I'd sell it as $1 a deal and say, here, you can fix this house up, and then you can pay real estate taxes to the town of Lunenburg.
So the building was built before we had electricity, before we had indoor plumbing. So we could restore that building to that, and it wouldn't cost that much, and it certainly wouldn't cost much to maintain.
I would say, let someone else try to do it. You know, I think that there's a high potential that you could sell that building if you were willing to give up the property. You know, the other thing that you could do is do like they do in Hawaii, is that you sell the building, but you maintain a lease on the property. Should sometime in the future, you really need it for a parking lot. There's all kinds of creative ways that you could do that.
So, I mean, I understand, you know, I work in this space. I know Greg does as well. You know, community preservationists, historical preservationists are always our challenge in our industry, because I think that there's this desire to preserve, and then you also have what the developers are doing, and developers are doing things that are profitable, and it's often not very profitable to remodel a building that is that age and that size. But let's assume that the town is going to take this responsibility on, and that we're going to continue to utilize the Brooks House. What do we use it for? So we have one idea of storage. What are the other potential uses for the Brooks House besides it looking cute and costing us money? You know, what do we do to make it useful?
So
Brian?
Potentially lease it to a business or someone interested in leasing the building.
And then Tony, what was your idea on this one? You said
Turn it
Well, we
into a
haven't put,
house.
you didn't put storage down.
it's coming.
Oh, that's idea 3? Okay.
All right, so lease to a business, lease as a house. Okay, and this one we're keeping idea number 2. TC Passios is kept for school programs only. What do we do with Town Hall and Ritter Building in this scenario?
I'm sorry, Michael Ray, I have to interrupt. Leasing as a house, because it is in the village center district, is not along with that bylaw. We are not supposed to have that single family house on School Street.
That's right.
Allowed that. So single family homes are restricted from the center, from the zoning. You'd have to get a ZBA variance. Or
I'm gonna put ZBA variance in parentheses.
not is it? Yeah, you'd have to get approval from ZBA because it's not allowed.
All right. All right.
If it's tax money, we'll give it to you. Okay.
What are we doing with Town Hall in this scenario? And what are we doing? Greg, is this the scenario where we do an annex on a Ritter or Dave?
I think we could do an annex on the Ritter for town offices.
All right, and then town hall then becomes what, community space?
Well, we still have the community space, but are you looking for a second use for it?
Yes, we can, yes, any other use, yeah.
I mean, you could always, it could be an office building if somebody wanted.
What, Matt, what do you mean add additional floor? Like behind
I don't
it?
know. I don't know where Michael Ray came up with that. I have no idea. What I was talking about was crib the building up, demolish the foundation that we just spent $80,000 to get rid of the mold, and then pour a brand new foundation that's watertight, that we could have storage, that we could do anything we really wanted to. I wanted to look at expanding that property because we could take by eminent domain, or we could make a good offer on the landowner and connect to the park. Yeah, no, I think that, and the PAC already has a studio in it. So a PAC studio, we could lease that back to PAC, and that could be a community center.
I think that just to, as a point of clarity, I think that what the PAC's looking for is their studio is located in the TC Passios building. And it's a lot more square footage. They just have kind of a control room in town hall. I just want to note that because I know I've said something similar in the past and I was corrected. So I just want to.
That's our biggest meeting space, right?
Yeah. So idea number 2, school programs at TC Passios. Town hall is an office building or community building. I mean, I would add in here preserve second floor.
Well, what about, I'm sorry, what about the Historical Society for Town Hall? I mean,
I
Steve,
don't think they're interested in it.
They don't
well,
want to move.
I understand this thing, but the fact of the matter is, if we're gonna be doing that site over, and if we're maintaining that parking lot for them, if the town is maintaining that parking lot for them, do we have the right to say to them, guys, we're not doing this anymore? If you want your historical society down here, you take care of it.
No, we have, the town granted them an easement. And so they have a right to utilize, we have to maintain a parking lot for them and they have that. So that was a decision previously made at a town meeting. They have an easement over that, over the parking lot. And then they're also a third-party entity separate from the town. And so, you know, there's historical commission and then there's historical society, and that building you're referring to is historical society, which is a third party, unrelated, technically not part of the town.
All right.
It's related, not part.
I just, you know, like I say, this town hall to me would be a perfect example for a historical society, showing balloon construction, blah, 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 blah. It's like the best use for that building that for them, as well as somebody might actually know where the historical society is. You know, if you ask half the people in Lunenburg, where's the historical society? They're going to go, I don't know, you know?
Well, if they've been coming to farmers markets,
even if they're coming to farmers market, they don't necessarily know where the historical society is.
It's pointed out to everybody.
Yeah, I understand. No problem.
So in scenario number 2, we have town hall as an office building. So I'm going to put in parentheses, private or leased, rather leased.
Yeah.
Office building, and then preserving the second floor, meeting space, second floor meeting room. And then annex to Ritter for town offices, Brooks House, leasing to a business, leasing as a house, which requires ZBA variance. I think idea number 3 for sure is we have to say new town hall at 30 School Street. Because this is one of the things that came up by the voters, I think we'd be remiss not to explore that as an option. Unless the majority of the board or committee disagrees. Does the majority disagree that we should consider 30 School Street for a new town hall?
I just want to know what happened to those plans that were built up. Did they all fail? Is that why this
Well,
is on the table?
they kind of already did, didn't they? I mean, the town meeting did not authorize the park part of it. They only authorized the demo.
Yes. It
So,
was
I mean, I
specifically
think-
amended.
I think that there was pretty strong. I wasn't at town meeting this year, but I believe there was comments to that effect, right?
There
Michael
were.
Ray?
Yeah, people wanted to tear down the building, but not pay for a park or pay, because they weren't sure, there wasn't consensus on what that should be. Could it just be a piece of land that we hold for future use? Would it be town hall? I guess that was one of the options, or could it be a park? Could it be whatever? So
Now,
it
where-
was,
To me, if I could, sorry, I don't want to interrupt anybody.
Absolutely, jump in. Yep.
To me, the reason why I suggested making that a town hall is because although the building isn't salvageable, there's still infrastructure there that can be utilized for a town hall. There's sewer, there's water, there's a parking lot. So I mean, it seems to me, if you're going to build a new town hall, like, I'm not saying that that's what we're gonna do, but if we're gonna build a new town hall, that is one site that seems to make good sense to me. It addresses a lot of issues that we heard through the process. It's not on the school campus. It's still in the center of town. It has parking, so that's why I suggested it, because I think that it makes, to me, it makes quite a bit of sense. By the way, I don't know that you're precluded from putting park space over there. You might be able to put some green space there, even if you build a town hall. So, I mean, I don't know. That was my thinking when I suggested it as part of my scenario, was that it seems like if you're going to build if we decide as a town that the time has come to finally build a new building, as Michael Ray has said, we've never built a town hall in the however many years we've been incorporated as the town of Lunenburg. If the time is now to do it, that seems like a logical site to me to look at.
All right. I am going to concur with you on that one. So where the select board is on this one is we are deferring to the Municipal Building Design Committee to present some options to the town before we move forward with plans for 30 School Street. The conversation that we've had, I think we had this on our agenda either at the last meeting or the meeting before. I think it was our last meeting. And where the summary of that conversation was that there's a lot of ideas for what we can do. The board was rather split. We seem to have some ideas to come back to the town with the same plan and perhaps a different rationale or a revised sell on it. I think that we thought it was going to be an easy sell. It kind of caught the whole board off guard when that was as contentious as it was at town meeting, given that we had heard nothing of the like prior to. So I think, the other half of the board, it was a 4-member meeting at the time. The other 2 members, myself included, were in favor of just turning it into a green space and just putting in some, not doing a park, but just doing some community gardens or pollinator gardens. So 30 School Street, the select board is waiting for Municipal Building Design to come up with some ideas before that board moves forward. So with that said,
Michael Ray, some advice on that one. So just looking at your columns at the top, I think it might make sense instead of new building, maybe it's 30 School Street and we kind of get a new column maybe, or change that to 30 School Street. And really, I think that would fit better.
all right. I think based on how I wrote this, Peter's idea was not limited to 30 School Street.
Yeah.
So maybe what I can do is just adjust his comment.
He's not with us anymore, so.
just put it
He's
in,
dead to us.
put it in under, yeah.
Yeah, I
Alright.
think he was looking at the public safety complex as a place to put town hall. To buy the property in front of the public safety building as a way of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Creating another access in and out of the public safety complex, at the same time getting rid of kind of an eyesore for the town of Lunenburg at putting a new town hall in there.
Yeah. And as an advisement, several years ago, the town was offered that property for $200,000 and the town passed it down. We recently re-engaged them to purchase that property, and this was right before 2020. So this was on the select board about 2019 going into 2020. And I think at that point, the offer was for $800,000. Just for context, and the building is not usable. So that would be us buying a property way over market value. And so that was the hesitance, I know. And then we had the pandemic happen. And so we didn't move, the select board did not move forward with proposing that to the town. But there was we were negotiating to purchase that property. But again, the asking price was $800,000.
You could-
I'm sorry.
The asking price was $800,000.
So which property? I didn't catch
The
that.
property
The
in front of,
Vineyard, the marina.
Oh, okay, yeah.
right in front of the public safety building.
There's
Yeah,
just no way that is worth
Yeah.
that. Is what it's
No.
zoned, what's it zoned?
It's zone commercial. The value of the property, I think we were looking at about 400,000 at that time. And so they were asking for almost double. And then we got kind of a threat of them building a Starbucks or something like that. And I think my response was build a Starbucks. That'd be far better than what they're
Yeah.
at.
Bagel shop and Starbucks. Yeah, I'd go for that.
It's like, that's not a threat to us. Like, build it.
Yeah,
But
it could be tax generating at least.
You could,
Yeah.
That
We
would
could
be a
buy-
wonderful place. That's
Yeah.
outside the Lunenburg Municipal Historic
Yeah.
District.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
All right, so going back to idea number 3, and this is, I know we're gonna conclude shortly after this one, but so idea number 3, we're looking at a new town hall at 30 School Street. Brooks House is gonna be used for storage. What are we doing with TC Pass Hills? What are we doing with Town Hall? What are we doing with Ritter?
Can I
And this
ask
is Ritter.
on the school
Yes.
street, is it solely offices or are we gonna try and sneak 1 or 2 community things in? Because I think if it's
Let's
just
talk
the
about
town, it,
What do you think, Christine? And I'll put it in.
I'm kind of, because I know this gets brought up a lot by you and Matt, there's nothing for that demographic in between elderly and after high school. So if we do build a new building, then I don't think we can take out the kitchen in the gym. I think that either has to go into the new building or TC Passios has to be fixed for that. But I think if it goes into the new building, then we get rid of TC Passios. And then that's the town washing its hands of that. So the school can take it for later if they want, but we're not investing money into that anymore.
All right,
So-
so before I say demolish, it demolish is a placeholder here.
no, so I'm gonna change that. I'd like to change that. I'd like to say, let's look at TC Pass. Well, okay, if you're gonna demolish 2 wings, keep the gym, the kitchen, just that one section there, and make it a community center.
But we can do that in the new town hall.
Well, but that's gonna be expensive. So if we're doing, the idea is that, you already have this building.
Yeah.
It's in a nice spot. It's the least amount of traffic. It doesn't affect the schools when you would have people in there for the community kitchen or whatever. I look at maybe
Yeah.
Ace could stay there and use it during the day. Who knows? I'm just trying to come up with a creative, something different for that.
So, yeah, Greg, jump in.
Well, I just would, I think that if we're gonna propose a new building, that it should be as small as it can possibly be, right? Because we already found out that the square footage costs are just going through the roof, so. The surest far way to minimize the cost is to make it as small as you think you possibly can. So like, building a gym and a kitchen in there would certainly drive that up. I don't know. Personally, I like Dave's idea. If, a larger demo job at the TCP, and you try to keep the central core of the building that people are using, or that people are currently using and future people could use, if we could find a way to revive the commercial kitchen and that kind of thing.
You
I don't know.
almost have, In fact, guys, you almost talked about, I don't remember how many square feet it was, but between the stage and the room above the stage is almost your packed studio right there for how much room they want, if I remember correctly. So you can almost do pack there, pack studio there, gym and community kitchen. And, there's your community center. Maybe you keep a couple of rooms or something like that for other groups or for town, people who want to meet, like town groups that want to meet. I don't know.
So in this scenario, community rooms and that, I mean, are we keeping extended day in this building in this
No.
scenario?
No, it's just it's only for the community. It's completely a place for the community.
Okay. Keep pack, so packs, all right, community rooms, all right. So we're all in agreement then that I just want to confirm that we're taking 30 School Street. If a new building's going there, it's bare minimum. It's just town offices. Is it town offices and school offices? What are we doing with Ritter and Town Hall?
So to me, those buildings are not going to be demolished. So this is a point I agree with Tony. I do not agree with Tony with Brooks House. I'll go on record with that. But I do agree in the spirit of cooperation, Tony. I agree that we should not propose to demo Ritter or the Town Hall for historical reasons. Those to me are clearly in the save at all costs category from a historical standpoint. I think, the spirit of the historical district and the historical regulations in town has got to be viewed. Those buildings have got to be viewed more high value than the Brooks House, but I'm no historical genius. But so to me, you find a way to put school administration into one of those buildings. I know we already have school administration in the Ritter on idea one, but the problem with Town Hall for offices of any kind or whether it's an general office building or a school administration offices is that there's no parking associated with it other than on the road and up Memorial Drive and things. So it's that's the challenge with Town Hall for everyday use. I think we run into that now with town employees. They're limited where they can park.
So then, as you envision, then if we say school administration in Ritter, what is a good use then for Town Hall in this scenario? Do we want to continue with the preserved second floor? To me, I'll offer my opinion on this, and I think that no matter what, the second floor of Town Hall should be preserved. I think that room is just as vital as the exterior of the building and Ritter. I think all three are one and the same to me.
So can we get rid of the first floor, demolish the first floor and take the second floor down to the first? Yeah.
That's the original building, right? They added the first, the current first floor when they moved it.
Just undo what they did back in the 1800s or whatever that was that they did.
Yeah, we can move it over to the Brooks House.
Community building.
So we're saying a community building. How is this community building different than TC Passio's community?
We have to get rid of the community room. So I think TC Passio's needs to be shrunken down just to the gym and the kitchen and maybe the cafeteria, and pack, but the community room should be held in the town hall. So that way, the farmer's market, when it's raining, can be in the first floor of the community building. Or if people want to meet over the winter, they can rent it out, or I don't know, I know we can't propose line 3 with the town hall blank because it's going to fail, even if it's the best for the other buildings.
What about potentially for idea 3, TC Passio's? Maybe it's more of like a rec department, like it's turned over to the rec department. They run the gym, they run the outdoor space there, they can run events and different groups.
Who's going to pay for the activities at town hall if you build a new town hall?
What do you mean?
Like, how are you gonna create a community building with community rooms and preserving the second floor? The second idea, I guess you're assuming that you would have a commercial office building developer implement idea two, so the town wouldn't have to pay for that. But for idea 1 and 3, who's paying for that?
So what I would say is that unfortunately, there's no parking. And so that's going to become a huge limitation if we look to change the use. So we kind of need to keep uses similar. I mean, we're a municipality. I hate to say we can do what we want, but we really should follow the same rules everyone else has. And it's really hard to come up with a proposal for how you're going to renovate a building to be your new office location when there's 2 parking spaces that come with the building. The intent, answering your question, Tony, would be the town, that all of this is on the town. Now, on the daily operational side, town hall is a unique building in that we have cell towers located at the top of the building that largely pay for the maintenance of town hall. So town hall is not a building that really costs the town money to maintain as far as operational costs go, because it is offset by the revenue generated from the top of the building. So it would still be town hall, it would still be the taxpayer. And I would envision that even in number 2, that you would say that whoever leases that space would renovate, but overall it's the taxpayer. So walking through idea number 3 in this a little more detail, we're saying, and I'm trying to get a better differentiation between TC Passios and the first floor of town hall. Can you help me with this one a little bit more, Christina or Matt or someone?
I think it's like Brian said, it's more of the gym and the kitchen, like maybe even it's more on the rec department at this point. We kind of turn it over to them, but I don't think otherwise there's anything really. It's community in the sense that the gym and the kitchen's there, but that's it. And if PAC wants to be there, but like meetings and stuff should be held at town hall, because like you said, there's that second floor meeting room. And if we want to, it'd be nice to gut out the first floor and have that be like a large meeting area if the building would allow it.
All right.
King for a day said that we would use TC Passios as temporary space for relocating other buildings while they got reworked and fixed up. And then once they get reworked and fixed up, then move back into them. Potentially one of them could have additional space to have a combined town hall, and then turn the TC Passios back to the school so we can maintain that 55-acre parcel. One other thing that I really liked was repurpose the new primary school, which is very far detached and has a lot of traffic problems. Bring that back into the campus, and that could be the new town hall, the new primary school. Not ideal, but.
So now that's actually a good point. And one thing that the select board, this was recommended by former Chief Marino, Selectman Marino, was for us to explore utilizing the current new primary school as a new kind of town hall, that it has everything we're looking for. We did look into this, and we have to wait, I think, another 20 years because, or we have to pay the state back. It would have to do with funding.
But by the way, based on what we've been doing, 20 years, that's going to be around the corner. Based on.
Well, but it gives more credence to Matt's idea, though. Let's put some money into just renovating the buildings that we have in a way that Tony referenced earlier, in a way that will prolong the longevity or give some life back into those buildings and functionality. Move them back in for 20 more years, and then you can explore that option in 20 years. I don't know. When was that building put into service? Was it like 03 or
95? Yeah, 03.
03,
02.
So, is this idea number 4?
I don't know. maybe we're getting too, maybe a 20-year horizon is a little bit too far out for this, this.
I think
this
it might be
committee.
a
I don't
little
know.
too far.
So what's wrong with the scenario there? We just mentioned the scenario. The scenario is Passios is used as a transition building. And when things are done, then now remember, we're only talking about town functions, town and school administration function. So if we look at it, is Passios is used as a transition building till everything else, till whatever our plan is done. And then it's just demolished.
I think that falls under idea 2 though, Dave, too. I think you add in under TC Passio, school programs and transition space, potential future site of Turkey Hill. And it's still a
But I'm
potential
looking at
future
it as,
site.
if it comes out that Turkey Hill, somebody decides that Turkey Hill is going to be built on that lower field, and in some instance, we got to just demolish, Passios is going to be demolished. And the cost to get rid of the asbestos and all that other stuff is just going to go up. At some time, we have to remediate that building to get it to be, to even be able to use it to put kids in there. Why build another building, right?
But it does make sense to me to use it right now while we still can. It's still functional, to use it as transition space to get some other buildings vacant so we can renovate them. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I can get behind that. I think it's probably going to be the most cost effective.
Now, in option number 1, what building are we using for this transition space? We're basically keeping everything as is, and then we're remodeling. I think in idea number 1, TC Passios gets the work first.
Correct.
And then it would be
You
the
would
other
do
building.
transition space.
Yep. And idea number 2, it's TCU Passio, and 3, TCU Passio's functions as the transition space. Other buildings get built out, and then, okay. What?
We probably should round that out in that type of narrative, like a Ray, for when we were to present this to the select board, because I think that kind of planning, I think, is really important to the discussion, because it drives cost and feasibility and feasibility, I guess.
All right.
I have
In
one question
idea number, yes.
about any of these ideas, the after-school program. Right now, where will is that going to be given back to the schools to go to have it in the schools buildings? Because I don't see them in here.
Yep, that was exactly my question. And I have the same one as you, Tom. So as we look at ideas number 1, we're saying that the school programs are going back to the schools. What are we saying in ideas numbers 2 and 3?
2, we're saying TC Passios is a school, so if they stay, they stay.
So they're staying in number 2, and number 3
They're gone.
is
Put them in the
Yeah.
Brooks house. They don't have bathrooms, but we can build them bathrooms.
are we going to say?
They can use the ones in the town beach.
Are we really? I mean, I know the extended day program has like a lot of kids in it, so I don't think Brooks House realistically would work. But I
No,
want to add something into this one: storage, or I'm going to add facilities department, since we just created one and it's right in the middle of all town facilities. That might not be a bad location for the facilities department to be housed out of.
Why wouldn't the facilities department be housed at the town hall? Or at the water building?
I think in this, what I'm suggesting is that you have the schools facility and town facilities. It may be a good location for both. If that makes sense.
No,
Well, it's also means it might be a way of being cheaping out. They don't need as fancy of an office space as some of the other functions.
Yeah, and
Cheaping
so
out,
that decreases your need here, is that it's taking some office space from here, from 30 School Street, and leaving and putting it at the Brooks House.
but then we have to fund the Brooks House building. So is it saving
Yes.
money?
no, you have to vet it. We have to vet it.
Just plain devil's advocate.
Can we add green space on the 30 School Street too for one of the ideas?
That would be idea 1. Idea 1 and 2 is basically green space.
Yeah. Because that presumably, if we have enough money left, if town meeting left us enough money, that building's gonna be demolished, right?
Yeah, I think what is hydro seeding is like 4 cents a foot, if you got enough of it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to spray it.
Yeah,
My
what you could do
understanding
is you could
was
make
that-
idea one for green space, and idea two is the park, which was, there was a lot of discussion about creating a park in there.
Yep.
Green space is, it's just green, it's just
The
a
problem I
place
have-
where there's grass.
I would leave, my opinion is I would leave this broad at this point. That I don't, since our mission is looking at building uses, that if we're saying green space, that we don't need to plan that out on our
Yeah.
side, that we.
I
Yeah.
would agree with that, Michael, right?
I agree.
Yeah,
Alright.
I agree too.
I have lots of opinions on that, but I won't say them because I don't think I'm wearing the right hat.
Well,
I'm
the
gonna come to you with
parks
those
group has a lot of
opinions pretty soon.
too.
All right,
What's that, Michael Ray?
so I'm gonna come to you, Greg, for some of those opinions soon. So
Okay, great. Thanks
if
for the
you
warning.
wanna hang tight afterwards and call it anyway, no, just messing with you. All right. All right, so this is where we're at. As we look this over one more time, anyone see any areas, and I'll enlarge it a little bit. Anyone see anything that we need to clarify, any changes we need to make here to these 3 primary ideas? Now, again, this is where we're going to kind of move toward to work through these options and figure out cost and what's needed. So that's coming next. So we want to make any changes to this so that way we have these options here good to go. Let me just move them on. And you can just speak up, just feel free to jump in here.
What I would like to see, and I'm not sure about open meeting law, but we've already discussed it. Can we get everybody's king for a day in its entirety? Because I had a lot of information in my 2 pages that.
You did.
And I'd love to see the other information that other people put together.
What I can do, Matt, after this, what I can do after the meeting tonight is I can send out this building use ideas, and I can also forward all the emails. I can compile them into one and cut and paste and include all the attachments and send out everyone's ideas. I think what will be helpful for our next meeting is to look over all those ideas. Matt had a really, pretty lengthy one. Greg did as well, and so did Brian. The 3 of you guys, I think, put a lot of energy into these King for Day ideas, certainly more than I did. And I think that there's some value there. So maybe as a next step for us, the plan is for me to distribute this back out and send out those ideas so that way at our next meeting, we can come back a little more informed. I'm sure we're all going to talk to our colleagues and compadres about this, and then we can, I'll put this on the agenda for our next meeting for us to modify it one more time before we finalize that these are kind of the ideas we're going to work through to figure out their feasibility. Does that sound like a good plan, Matt?
Michael Ray, will you send out my king for the day ideas as well?
I will. And
So-
Tony, let me make sure I have them.
If
And
you don't,
guys, I guess,
I can resend them.
and by the way, I guess the trick here is we just can't discuss. We can't
Right.
email back. If we email back, it's
Correct.
to you only.
Correct.
Make
Okay,
sure you get Dave's too. We want to get this time.
yes,
Say that again, Matt. I missed that.
You didn't get Dave's on this one, I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I need Dave. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing here. So it sounds like that's a lot of work, and I know we're kind of getting to an ending point, so our next meeting will focus on prioritization and stuff like that. All right,
good job, Mike Ryan. Good job.
good stuff, you guys, good stuff. All right, so I will make sure I get those emails. If not tonight, I will send them out to you guys tomorrow. And then again, so the plan as we go forward is our next meeting, it's looking like it's going to be September the 19th. And that's because next Monday is Labor Day. And so we said no to that. And then, so September the 19th. Are we all on this? Any
Not the
known
12th?
conflicts for the 19th? As we're all checking our calendars for any known conflicts on September the 19th. Our next meeting after that would be October the 3rd.
I may not be there for that one.
October 3rd.
Yeah, I'm gonna be coming back from a trip to North Carolina that day, so.
All right.
I may not be there.
The following Monday is Columbus Day. Matt, is the planning board readjusting their schedule in October to account for Columbus Day, or are you guys just gonna meet once on the 24th?
We typically just drop that date, but, and I don't see anything major coming up in the near future, so we probably will only just meet once that month, if that's the
Okay.
case.
Okay, so we'll plan September 19th, meeting after that, October 3rd, October 17th. All right, so any discussion, let's see, any community outreach, any public outreach from anyone other than us, any communications coming to the committee that for the good of the group? No.
Michael Ray, do you see anything being added as a warrant for the November 15th town meeting coming from the committee?
No. I see us doing an update, potentially. Well, let's talk about that because I think the warrant closes on the 23rd. Do we want to do an update at this year's town meeting for in November? Do we think that we'll be ready for any kind of update by then?
I'm gonna vote to say it's tough to tell. Because unless we have significant progress, I don't even want to try to confuse people and start them talking.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah, I think at this point, the next thing should be a plan, to present a plan. I wouldn't.
Yep.
I wouldn't go back and update. I just don't think we're there.
Do we need money? Do we need money to develop plans?
Well,
Well, the toughest part for us is understanding what the cost might be to stabilize or, to get a building to be okay. We've talked about like town hall. Town hall, do we have any concept of how much money it's gonna take to make town hall a usable building?
No.
And that's the difficult part. So it's tough for me to say, okay, we're gonna make town hall a community center or school administration or whatever, and not have any idea.
Well, we do have some idea, but it's dated.
Right,
Yeah.
very dated. Yeah.
And-
Underneath the guise of ARPA, I may be able to approach the board about funding for kind of a structural analysis is what you're referring to.
Right.
And yeah, I can certainly do that. All right. So, but no, I don't anticipate that we're going to be going before town meeting with any real asks. I know that we, for the most part, took the summer off. And so we didn't really meet too much over the last 3 months. So, and it seems like what we have coming up ahead of us is really now that we've gotten through the hard part of looking at these 3 ideas, is to go back through, vet them, which we're going to do over the next couple of weeks on our own, compare them to other ideas, come back again, talk through them, make some changes, and then say, okay, these are the main 3 ideas we have. We'll present them to the select board. They'll give their feedback. And then I think we can kind of move forward with how we want to build this out and what these next steps are going to be. But even with these ideas, the good thing is that we can do this in phases, and we can, we should always borrow money, in my opinion, at the same time, so that way we tie it up and then, get on the repayment schedule. We should have probably borrowed money a year ago when it was much cheaper than it is to borrow now, but neither here nor there. Any old business, any agenda requests or action items? All right, no.
I'm sorry, Michael.
Yes, Matt.
So I don't know if this is a good time or just committee comment, but we do have the new facilities director starting Wednesday?
Correct.
Has there been any discussion or concern or thought about having that person be part of this group?
Yes. So the facilities director, we should expect, and thank you, Matt, for bringing this up. So we did hire a new facilities director for the town. This is the position that was newly created. And I, for one, am super excited about the fact that we have a facilities department. The expectation for Paul is that he will be at least one of our meetings every month. So we will get the chance to meet him coming up here on the 19th of September. I expect that he'll also be with us on October the 3rd.
Okay.
You're welcome. All right. Any additional action items? All right, so we have minutes that were prepared by Brian. Brian, thank you so much. Are we prepared to approve those minutes? Or do we need more time?
I wasn't there, so I'm one of the absentees, so.
Yeah, me
I'll
too.
move those meeting minutes. I think we've actually seen them twice. Brian sent them out
You did.
some
Yeah.
time ago. So I've read them. I'd say I'll move, we approve the meeting minutes. He's very detailed.
Is there a second? I will second. All right, since these are minutes, we have to do a roll call vote. All right, let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Roy.
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Aye for me. Mr. Gray,
Aye.
Dave,
I wasn't there. I'm staying.
Christina,
Hi.
Matt,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and Tony.
Aye.
All right. Excellent. So thank you guys again. I want to thank you for your time. I know that these meetings are a lot of service on your part, especially when they're 6 at night. You're giving up 2 hours when you have, especially on a Monday. So I really thank you guys for this contribution that you guys are making to the town. And I need to be better about sending reminders sooner. Like when I send the agenda to get posted, I should probably be better at forwarding those to you guys more immediately. So that way you're not getting those reminders at the last minute.
By the way, Michael Ray, on that, when I send the agenda to the town, I just copy all my committee members.
All right, I can do
That
that.
way, it's just easier, right? Yeah, I just make one group and just send it to the group.
All right.
Michael Ray, has there been any discussion on hiring people to take the minutes again? Or no?
So we have, yes, the answer to that, Brian, is yes. Yes.
But you've done such a great job, Brian. You've done such a great job. You just got all those compliments about those minutes.
No, I know it's a heavy lift, and I know obviously I'm trying to pick my words very carefully here, but I know it's a heavy lift, and I think that we definitely need some support. We created this minute taking position to be supportive to the boards and committees, and it's a new role. It's only been in effect for about 1.5 years, and I think it's to be determined if it's a success or not. I think at this point it's not overwhelmingly successful. So, all right,
I thought we actually had a board clerk.
we do.
Okay.
No. I declined their services.
Oh, okay. Can AdCom take their services?
You are more than welcome to, but I think you may end up making the same decision I did. All right. With that said, any public comments this evening from the public? No, and any public comments from APDC rep? Tony, any public comments from the committee? Again, I just want to thank you all for your time this evening. It's a little later than I had hoped, but not by much. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Greg?
Aye.
Aye for me, Tom,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Christina,
Hi.
Matt,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and Tony.
Aye.
All right, it is now 7:52. We are adjourned. Good to see you guys, and we'll see you guys soon on the 19th. Have a good night.
Everyone.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Michael
Thank
Ray,
you,
you
Michael.
won't